Yes, it is. Okay, so welcome everybody to our panel of balance. So when I started this panel of balance, I said, what is balance? You know what? I'm going to have a look and see what the dictionary says. So the big dictionary had a few definitions, and one is an even distribution of weight. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, to us, that's one form of balance, and it's the even distribution, or a condition in which different elements are equal or in correct proportions. It's a steady position, so things don't fall. And I think in so many fields, we can relate that this is balance. We don't want things to fall. The position is steady, and that's with our general well-being. Okay, and other words for balance could be equilibrium, mental steadiness, emotional stability, habit of calm behavior. All of those equal balance, according to the dictionary, okay? But then I came up with this definition, which I thought, which really warmed my heart, I have to tell you. It was for winemaking, okay? In winemaking, the degree to which all the attributes of a wine are in harmony with one another. No, sorry, let's try that again. The degree to which all the attributes of wine are in harmony, with none either too prominent or too deficient. And I thought, that is it. None too prominent or too deficient. We're all like wine. We don't want anything to be too prominent or too deficient. We want to be in balance, the correct proportions. And I think that that was a beautiful way of beginning, of describing what balance is actually. Now, we have balance is in many areas, you know, in so many areas of our life, and I could have gone on. And I just came back from an exercise class, and a while back I fractured my leg, and you can't believe what it's done to my balance, a little fracture, and this balance, and I still can't get it. You know, I'm 6 months afterwards, and I don't have proper balance on that leg, even though I exercise and do whatever. So it's really important for us to be able to maintain our balance, and if we don't have it, to try and obtain it. So we've got Helen and Nili here with us this evening, or today, depends where you are in the world, who are going to try and help us in different areas. Nili through nutrition, and Helen emotionally. How do we get that stability and that equilibrium? So I'm going to ask Helen to start and to address the topic, okay? Just unmute yourself, Helen.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here this evening, and so many of you turned up. I'm so impressed. And thank you, Gila, for inviting me to speak to you all today, tonight. I'll just introduce myself briefly, and then I will talk about balance. So my name's Helen Abelesz, and I'm a life coach for women. And my passion is to help women to feel good about themselves, to accept themselves, and to create a life that works well for themselves. And the way I do this is I work individually on Zoom or in my clinic, and I also work in groups. And I help women with their time management so that they use their time well. I help them to feel calmer and to accept themselves. So balance, I'm so happy that we chose this topic, that Gila chose this topic, because for me, balance is everything. It's just everything. And for me, it's so interesting. I wasn't thinking about balance from a physical point of view. For me, I immediately went to the emotional. And having balance in your life is so important. So for me, when I think about balance, I think about the fact that so many women that I meet are just natural givers. And they're just so good at giving to everyone in their life, to their families, at work, to their communities. And often they forget to give back to themselves. And that is a lot of what I do in my coaching, actually, is helping women to give themselves permission to give back to themselves. And so for me, when we're off balance and we're giving too much of ourselves to others, then we get burnt out. and our bodies react physically, we do not feel good, and we're not happy. And then we start resenting people because we're giving too much. And so when we don't have the right balance, we do not feel good. And another thing with balance is with that whole work, home, life balance, which is so hard to get right. And I feel it's something we have to be constantly checking in with ourselves. Do we have the right balance in our lives? Are we working too many extra hours? I feel like now the fact that we have phones and we can do emails at home at night, it seems to be much harder to cut off the work day at the end of the day, and we carry on and just do a bit more, just do a little bit more. And it's so important to remind ourselves to check in with ourselves if we have the right balance. So today I wanted to give 5 tips. I'll try and do it quickly. 5 tips for having the right balance. The first one is to know yourself. If you know that certain things in your life give you extra stress and make you feel not good, then do less of those. If you know certain things make you feel amazing and they make you feel good and they give you something, do more of those things. But if you don't know what those things are, it's very hard to do that. So when it comes to having a balanced life, it means that doing more of the things that make you feel good. So if you know, I feel like sometimes balance is put off in the summer because people are off schedule, if you have kids at home or grandkids come over, or it's holiday time, or it's too hot. It feels like summers are always even harder to get the right balance. And so knowing yourself, knowing that going to that yoga class once a week for you makes your week run more smoothly, it gives you something, it's just the most amazing thing in the world, then make sure that you're still finding time for that yoga class in the summer when lots of things else are going on. Maybe do it in the evening instead of in the morning, or find a babysitter if you've got little kids, or find a way to still make it happen for you a priority. So knowing yourself is the first step to getting the right balance, because you have to know what's working and what's not working in your life. The second thing is, I feel like we often do things in our lives just because we think we should be doing them. And so even though they don't really work for us and they make us feel really stressed, we still feel like we should be doing them because that's what we should be doing. Like some of my clients say, yes, obviously I always having guests every Shabbat for a meal, even though my kids don't really like it anymore and I'm always so stressed on a Friday and it's a nightmare. Like, who says you have to do that? Like, we put these expectations on ourselves that we should be doing that. And so when you can say to yourself, it's true, I can have guests every single Shabbat, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to do it every other week or once every 3 weeks, because in that way I can be less stressed. And your family will much more prefer a happy wife, a happy mum, a happy work colleague than someone who's stressed and unhappy. So finding the balance and not doing things in your life just because you think you should. I feel like it's a lot about giving yourself permission to do what feels good and giving yourself permission to not do the things that are not working in your life. And then the next one is, how are you talking to yourself about these things? Like, if you say, I hate the summer is always a nightmare, it always is terrible, it's too hot, I can't deal with the heat. If you use those negative sentences to yourself and to everyone else, it kind of becomes the reality. Words are very powerful, and the words we use they're not just flippant words, they're very important. And if you can choose to use words such as, I'm open to this summer being the best summer ever. Let's make this summer the best summer ever. I'm going to really make sure this summer we do some really fun things. You know, like being open to that and talking in that more positive way actually affects how you feel about the summer, and it affects the whole atmosphere in the house to how other people are talking about it. And you can, you know, get your family involved and say, you know, how are we going to make this the best summer ever? Let's think about it together. Let's come up with a plan, as opposed to, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare, which I hear, especially here in Israel with the heat. Everyone's like, oh, it's too hot, you know, but we have air conditioning, and so you can get through it. And my last tip is to remind yourself that we always get through the summer, and we always somehow end up in September and are like, oh, how did that happen? It always feels like the beginning of July is like, oh my gosh, we've got 2 months to go. It's so long. But somehow we always get there. And to remind yourself that we've gotten through much harder things in the summer. We had lockdowns last year, which were so much harder, and now things opened up. I mean, I don't know where everyone's from, but I think in general, things are better than it was last summer. And so to enjoy what we do have and focus on what we do have, and remind yourself you've gotten through it before and you'll get through it again. And so those are my tips for today for how to deal with balance.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Helen. That was great. So practical, so doable. I think one of the first things, when I made a lot of changes in my life, and one of the things was to understand the should and have to goes out the door, and it's I want. And if I don't want, I don't do it. I try. I would say but that's like a big thing for me, you know. And even when I write or whatever it is, I try to remove that have to sentence from my lexicon. It's I think it's very important. I want to also mention that we have Helen and Nili and I all have very special offers that we're going to give you at the end of the program tonight. So make sure you're there. And there's also a raffle to do with balance. So we'll explain that a little bit later on. So there are lots of exciting things coming up. Okay, Nili, join us, please, and tell us about yourself as well. Okay, it's important.
Hey guys, first off, Gila, thank you so much for putting this together. It's a real gift that you're giving everyone. So it's very kind of you to bring us together.
Thanks for joining Helen and Nili. It's wonderful. I'm so glad. Great partners.
Okay, so my name is Nili, and I'm a functional nutritionist. And I basically help people balance their 12 physiological systems using food and herbs. And when Gila asked me to speak about balance, I thought to myself, well, this is a very interesting subject, because this is the whole point of what I do, which is I believe that when you have internal balance, you're able to create external balance. Meaning that if our health and our physical well-being is, in Hebrew, meuzan, in balance or in harmony, if all the 12 systems are in harmony with one another, then we're able to feel that balance in our external life. And that's why nutrition is so important to me personally. I'm not interested about people's weight. I'm not interested in the way that people look. I'm really more interested in the way people feel, because when people feel good internally, they have their best life experience that way. And so if we're talking about this balance topic, then the question is, how do you really achieve that physically? How do you achieve it on the day-to-day? Because that's what we really care about, okay? 12 levels, meaning 12 physiological systems. I'm just answering Khali's question. Like, for example, the liver, which is one system, the kidneys, the renal system, another. That's what I was talking about, being in balance. But going back to this concept of like, what do I require on a day-to-day that's going to allow for me to have this balance? And so the answer is a steady foundation. Just like what Gila was talking about, how she has this image of an elephant balancing its weight on a ball, that's momentary balance. But that's not balance that you can sustain throughout your day. That requires a lot of effort. And that's not something that you should ask of yourself to do. So the question is, what you need a real solid foundation. You need a solid foundation so that you don't stumble. So what's required for that solid foundation nutritionally? So I thought of 3 avenues that you could do that for yourself to build a solid foundation that will allow for you to have internal physical balance. So those were having your blood sugar be balanced, okay? Making sure that your hormones are balanced, that's number 2, and making sure that your decisions are balanced. So I felt like everybody has a lot of nutrition information these days. Everyone tends to have a high nutritional IQ, but what people don't really know is what's the minimum that's required for me and where should I really be putting my attention? And so that's what I wanted to speak to you about today. So when it comes to blood sugar, the reason why that I picked that and why I feel it's so fundamental for us to maintain our balance is because when our sugar isn't balanced, we feel so out of it. If our blood sugar falls, all of a sudden we become like these ravenous monsters and we want to eat the people that are in the room with us, right? Or we just get really, really upset and we, like someone will say one little small thing and we blow up and we're angry. So we've lost our balance. So if our blood sugar is balanced, then, you know, our perception of the world is pretty calm. So then the question is how do we maintain our blood sugar? So very simple. It's actually very, very simple to maintain really good blood sugar. The first, though, is not really done, which is just making sure that you're well nourished, making sure that you have all your vitamin and mineral requirements in check. Because when someone experiences any kind of deficiency, whether it's an iron deficiency, a B12 deficiency, a vitamin A deficiency, whatever it is, your body's going to feel like I'm missing something. Not only is that entity necessary for your metabolism to function accordingly, but you're going to feel like you're missing something and your cravings are going to go way up. Now, I run this detox program where women are actually eating less than they normally eat, but they're eating so much more fruits and vegetables than they otherwise would consume. And the number one comment that I get from these women are, I'm not hungry. So why is that the case? Because they're making sure that all of their nutrient needs are taken care of. And when your nutrition is taken care of, you don't crave and your blood sugar is balanced because your metabolism is operating accordingly. So then what kind of nourishment do you need to make sure that you receive? You need to make sure, or you should try to make sure, that you get 6 cups of vegetables a day. Now that might sound like a lot, but the actual requirement is 9 cups of vegetables. It requires 9 cups of vegetables to just receive all of your nutrition for that day. So if you could at least get 6, you're doing yourself a huge service. So you could divide that 2 cups for breakfast, 2 cups for lunch, 2 cups for dinner, and that would be outstanding. Or you could juice, or you could figure out specifically what vitamins and minerals you're deficient in through a variety of ways and make sure that you account for those deficiencies. Because that, again, will add to this goal of making sure that your blood sugar is even and balanced. Other things, yes, Gila?
Can the vegetables be cooked or they need to be fresh?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
There are certain vitamins and minerals that you absorb better, that are more bioavailable when they're cooked or when they're raw. So if you have a balance of both, then you're fine in every aspect.
Sure.
Other things that you could do to have your blood sugar be balanced is just adding cinnamon to your water. cinnamon and lemon. Like for example, if you have, I don't have next to me, but if you have like one of those Contigo bottles or those big water bottles, put a that exactly like what Gila has, just put a little bit of cinnamon sticks, some lemon in there, and you drink that throughout the day. And that in and of itself is really fantastic for making sure that your blood sugar is even. And another thing that's really, really important that most people don't do is they don't eat at consistent intervals throughout their day. So for example, like, listen, I'm a young mother who works a lot, and I could find myself in this position very, very frequently, which is like, I eat at 8 o'clock and I could easily find that it becomes 2 o'clock and I don't eat anything. Or like maybe I'm not such a nasher. I really worked on that Mita. I really worked on myself to not be a nasher. But there are some people who just don't have set times which they eat, and then they're opportunistic eaters, meaning they're finding a little bit here and a little bit of time here, and then they'll have long distances where they don't eat. And that push and pull, the waiting time, eating frequently, and then waiting long distances of not eating will throw your metabolism out of balance. The hormones that cause you to store energy and the hormones that cause you to burn energy will be out of sync with one another and can cause either hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia. So I'm just going to reiterate these points again. We said just to make sure that you're well nourished, making sure that you're eating 6 cups of vegetables a day, if not more, in whatever capacity you can. Making sure that you account for your nutrient deficiencies. Adding cinnamon and lemon to your water is a really great tool. And then just making sure that you're eating again at consistent intervals, whether that's every 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, as long as there's consistency to when you're eating. And that the amount of food that you're eating each time is also consistent. Okay, because if you're eating just like a few almonds here and then you're waiting 3 hours, those few almonds might not sustain you. Okay, so that's really, really important. Now, I could speak more about blood sugar, but I want to have like stability I want to have a nice foundation, which is hormone balancing. If our hormones are out of balance, we are not going to feel balanced as women. Because the way that it works is that our estrogen and our progesterone and our testosterone are constantly moving throughout our cycle. Now, we're all at different phases here. There are some women who are experiencing their period. There are some women here that probably are still either pregnant or lactating, nursing, or past that whole commotion altogether. Regardless of that, we're still making our hormones, and our hormones are shifting. So there's something called seed cycling. And seed cycling is a really cool tool that every woman should know about. And if you're a mother, you should tell your children. If you're a grandmother, you should tell your children and your grandchildren. It's really, really important. And what it is eating different seeds throughout the month so that you're building up your hormones properly. Now, for anyone who's joining, I'm going to send you guys a write-up as to how to do this. I could talk about it, but the write-up is very self-explanatory, and I'd rather give you more tips. Another thing that's really, really important is to stay away from dairy, which I know for the people who live here in Israel, that's a really hard thing to do because dairy consumption here is one of the highest in the whole world. But the problem is that not only does dairy contain hormones, estrogens that will throw your estrogen off and create estrogen dominance, which then could cause thyroid problems and midsection weight gain. But the dairy also contains a sugar called lactose. Lactose, when broken up into its more simple sugars, glucose and galactose together. And there are decades of research to support that galactose are your ovaries' enemy. Increases the risk for endometriosis, increases the risk of ovarian cancer, increases the risk of PMS, increases the risk of infertility. Also really not healthy to consume while pregnant because it could affect your developing embryos' ovaries. So it's really, really important to just stay away from dairy if you see that you have problems balancing your hormones. And if I could say one more thing, which is we want to make sure that we have balanced decision making. Okay, So what does this mean? I say that there are three reasons why we eat. We eat out of nourishment, we eat out of celebration, and we eat out of fear and anxiety. Those are the three reasons why we eat. You have to be self-aware enough to recognize why you're eating what you're eating. Now, it's appropriate to eat for nourishment, obviously. We need to eat to build ourselves up. And it's also appropriate to eat out of celebration, because we need to celebrate our existence and our life and enjoy food. But it's not really beneficial for us to eat out of food and anxiety. The difference between celebration and anxiety is when we eat out of celebration, we feel more present. When we eat out of anxiety, we feel more detached from our presence. So nourishment should be 80% of the way we eat. Celebration should be 20% of the way that we eat. And when we make food decisions, we should always make it off of, why am I eating what I'm eating? Is it for nourishment, celebration, anxiety? That in and of itself will give you awareness. And then sometimes we feel guilty when we're eating out of celebration. But if you are constantly being self-aware and checking in, and you're saying, but wait a minute, I see that 20% of what I'm eating is celebration, then I'm okay. And so it allows for you to feel like you're getting what you want, right? Like Gila said, it's all about getting what I want. I can celebrate, but it needs to be in this balance. And if I can maintain that, then I release the steam, I enjoy my food, and I get what I need. And so I feel like these three things, balancing your sugar in this way, balancing your hormones in this way, and balancing your decisions, if you do this, you're going to have a foundation that you can make really good decisions and really improve your well-being. And then other things that you need after that can come, but they come more easily.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Nili, that was terrific. I think we can all take something away with us. And, you know, one of the things I did say is, like, during the holidays and when we're stressed out or whatever, and we don't have time, or we land in a situation, I think if we plan in advance, it makes a world of difference. And one of my friends said to me, she said, Gila, I was going to someone or other's house and I was going to be there all day, and I took my salad with me. And they had food there, but it wasn't the food that I want to eat. And so if we plan in advance and take our food with us, we're going to be happier and healthier. You know, I mean,
100%. 100%. Agreed.
Yeah. You know, I'm a big sandwich girl. I take my sandwiches everywhere with me. So I prepare in advance, and I know that I have them all the time. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to, Nili, take a look. Nili, have a look in the chat, because people have asked questions. And so even, you know, leave a little bit of time at the end so that we can address all of those questions. Okay? Terrific. So it's interesting, you know, Nili talked about the number 12, and I'm going to talk about the number 7, because we have 7 different energy centers. With crystals, we work with these energy centers and we try to keep them balanced. That's one of the keys of crystals. And Nili was talking about vitamins and minerals. And guess what? Another name for crystals is minerals, because they are filled with minerals. And that's why we use them. And that's what they give us so much benefit. So what I thought I would do for you today is actually go through the 7 different energy centers and tell you about one stone for each energy center and how it helps us balance. And it's interesting that it all relates, everything relates. You know, in the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything seems to connect somehow. So I'm going to start. There are 7 energy centers. I'll start with the crown, because that's just the way I like to work. And the crown chakra is an Indian word for energy center, okay, is a clearish color. And I'm choosing the quartz crystal. There are many crystals that I could have chosen, but I'm choosing this crystal, which is a quartz crystal, to tell you about, because this stone, actually brings our body into balance, okay? It helps our body become balanced and all in harmony, because we have these 7 energy centers and they're whizzing energy throughout our body this way and this way, all different directions. And then when it goes in harmony, that's when we are healthy. That's when we have our well-being. And I can see, for example, Nili talked about blood sugar. We talk about diabetes. If we are not balanced, I can see it in the crystals. I can see what's going on. Then we take the, okay, so that was for the crown. Then this area is called the third brow, okay, or the third eye, which is our spirituality, and the color is purple. And I'm going to choose the crystal today called lepidolite, okay? This lepidolite actually helps to balance us emotionally and mentally as well. Interestingly, it has lithium in it. So if we do not have lithium, okay, we don't have enough salt in our brain, we are having ups and downs, and we are going through these mood swings. And you could use the lepidolite, helps us to balance that, okay? It's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable how I can see it when people choose the stones that they need, right? Somebody who has these mood swings will be choosing a lepidolite. There are other stones that will tell you about that, but we have the throat, which energy center, okay, which is a blue color, which is our center of communication. So this too, you know, we have those emotional ups and downs. So this agate blue lace is going to help us if we're having those emotional ups and downs. And because it relates to our throat energy center, this is actually called the speech stone. So if you've got to speak and you want to tell people things, or you've got a speech to give, or like me tonight, you're going to take an agate blue lace with you, okay? And what we find is that the energy centers actually relate. So if I have a whole system, but that, you know, I'm not going to go into all of that now, but if we find that we have a lot of stuff emotionally, we're storing a lot of stuff emotionally, and we're all blocked up in that energy center, we're out of balance. And guess what? It's going to come out of our throat. In other words, we're not going to be communicating well. We're not going to be saying things the way we want. We're going to talk more aggressively, or maybe we'll be too quiet. We won't say what we want. Okay? So it's very important to keep our energy centers balanced. After the throat comes our heart. And Helen related to that as well, very much. The heart energy center is our center of love, where we give and we take. And we can't overgive because there'll be nothing left. It's like, I always think of a plant, and you know, a plant that is shriveled, because it hasn't been nurtured at all. And that's what happens when we overgive. We're not giving ourselves the nutrients that we need. And that we see, I very much see it through the crystals. If someone's taken loads of green crystals, I'm going to gather that they're a green, and I'm going to gather that they're a giver. Okay, but they don't necessarily take for themselves. When I see pink there as well, I understand that we take love, we know how to give, and we know how to take. And in order for us to give other people love, we've got to be able to receive it ourselves, okay? It's really, really important. And in so many areas of our life, I mean, people, one of the things I do when people looking for shidduchim, for example, one of the stones that I give people is a rose quartz, because it says, and I said this to this guy today that I was seeing, a 42-year-old single man, everything going for him. But I said, you know, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You have to love others like you love yourself. You got to start with loving yourself. Your heart energy center has to be balanced. Okay, I chose the bloodstone. Okay, pink and green is the heart. Okay, I chose the bloodstone for the heart energy center today because this stone is full of iron. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, okay, but it's got red flecks in it, and that red flecks is the iron oxide, and that is so good. And we know that, so if somebody takes loads of these, I'm guessing that they've got a lack of iron. Something is out of balance. They're facing a challenge that they can't cope with at the moment, and they're looking for ways to manage this, okay? And then I want to talk about the solar. The solar is our emotional storage, and that is the color of yellow. So this is called a serpentine, this stone, which comes in different colors, but I've obviously chosen the yellowish one to show you. And this stone will show me if somebody has an issue with their blood sugar levels, if they've got, if they're moving towards diabetes. I can understand that from the crystals, and this is going to help balance it. The other thing that this is going to do, it gives us balance. And what's another thing for balance is harmony. And that leads us to happiness. It's also, the serpentine is a happiness stone. Okay. Then we're going to come up to our sacral or our sexual chakra, okay, which is just below the belly button, right? That's our area where we create life. That's our area of making, doing, being. And this is the carnelian, which I'm running a webinar next week, and I'm going to talk all about it because it's such a women's stone. But here it's going to help energetic blockages. And that's very important because we need the energy to flow in our body and out of our body. We need it to keep flowing. So that's why we've got our carnelian. And at the base level, this is a real cool stone. This is called petrified wood. One is more polished than the other. Petrified wood is really fossilized wood. Okay, it's amazing. And we've got it today. And this is a stone that's going to give us grounding, help us keep our feet on the ground at the correct level. And it's also a stone that helps us, you know, like sometimes we go through a little bit of turmoil in our lives. So sometimes we can be shoved like a tree this way and that way. But because our roots are in the ground, we're grounded, we're not going to fall. We may be shifted around, but our trunk still remains with us. And that is our petrified wood from the base or root chakra. Okay. One of the things that we can do with the crystals also is to place a crystal of each color on all of the different energy centers and lie. Just lie for 20 minutes. It's like delicious. Is the best way I can describe it. It so puts us into balance, and it's something very beautiful that we can do. So therefore, that's the set of crystals that I am going to raffle tonight, okay, is actually a set of crystals to help for women's balance, okay, so there are women's stones in there. And I would like to, okay, I think we're going to talk about our special offers now. So Helen, please tell us what you're offering us tonight. Not only do you get stacks of great information, folks, you're getting special offers and special deals. I'm telling you, it's a winner to come to this panel.
Thank you, Gila. So fascinating, all this stuff that I'm learning tonight from you and Nili. So for you, all you lovely ladies who joined us this evening or who are watching us on the recording, I'd love to offer you a 15% discount off my coaching group. I have a mum's coaching group called Peaceful Warriors, and I'm in the middle of a group now. It's online. It's a 10-week course on Zoom, and it's starting again in October. So if any of you are interested in joining my Peaceful Warriors group, it's a great way of getting support from other mums and to learn one topic on how to keep calm and accept ourselves every week. And so that is one offer. And my other offer is if you would like to do some one-on-one coaching with me over Zoom or come to my clinic in Bet Shemesh, then if you sign up by the end of the week, then if you sign up for a package of 4 coaching sessions, then I will give you an extra session for free. So you'll get 5 sessions for the price of 4, basically. And you can do it on Zoom. Each session is about an hour. And it's amazing what you can achieve in 4 to 5 sessions. Talk about your time management, how if you're creating that life of balance that you want to have in your life. So I would love it if any of you would like to take me up on that offer.
Fantastic, Helen. I think that some of us who are a little bit older would have been dreaming about being part of your Peaceful Warriors group, you know, as a young mum, and just having that support and that encouragement to do what is the correct thing for us. to remember that we have a place. We're actually not just these people who are serving our husbands and our kids and the whole community around and forgetting about ourselves. So wonderful. Thank you, Helen. That's fantastic. Nili, what are you offering us tonight? Thank you.
First off, Helen's a really great life coach. I've gone to her myself, so I can attest to her.
Wow.
But my offer is that, so I have 2 offers for you ladies. I have a 28-day women's total body detox program starting July 25th. It's a 28-day protocol that is designed to clean out your body. It's a total body detox, so it cleans out your digestive system, your kidneys, your liver, your lungs, your lymphatic system. So you get a total new body by the end of it.
Wow.
But what's wonderful about it is that it's a women's circle. So you get to do this with 10 other women, and it incorporates 6 nutrition classes. So there are 6 2-hour nutrition classes at the same time that you're doing this cleanse and that you're bonding with these 10 other women. It's a really wonderful experience. And for all those who attended today or are going to listen to this, you can receive 20% off. And if you have questions about this or are interested, you could always schedule a free 15-minute call with me and I could tell you more about it. And then the other offer.
Is that run on Zoom so our overseas ladies can join as well?
Yes, it is run on Zoom. We always have a mixture of people. It's every Sunday, 7:45 p.m. Israel time, which is about, let's say, 9:45 a.m. Pacific Coast time, and then you could kind of figure out where you are in that scheme of things.
Okay. Fantastic.
Everything's recorded, so we have people who listen to the recordings later.
Amazing. Thank you.
And then the second offer is if you wanted to work with me privately, then you could purchase your first 3 sessions at 10% off.
Wonderful. That's great. So generous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, everything's going to be emailed. You're going to receive an email, folks, with the details on the website so you can really follow up. I'm urging you to take advantage of all of these excellent offers. They really are. And I'm offering you the following. I'm running a webinar next week. Okay, and it's a new webinar dealing with women's issues. I'm calling it the Women's Webinar. And I mentioned the carnelian tonight, and I'll be discussing more about it. I have to, because that's me, go through the Jewish element a little bit, because we always want to be connected with the crystals to the Jewish side of it, and then what crystals are going to help us through all our various women's stages of life. Okay, so that's on Tuesday, and the code that you put in if you sign up on the website is balanced with a D at the end. Okay, and the other thing I'm offering is I'm running a 5-session Zoom course, and the course is going to be beginning on the 17th of October, because we're waiting till after the holidays and after the Chagim, and I'm in the middle of a course now, and then I'm giving you at a 15% discount. All of these offers, Nili's offers, Helen's offers, and my offers are available till Friday. Okay, so don't miss out, as well as assessments, because I mentioned that I do assessments because we understand so much from the crystals. Okay, also at a 15% discount, which includes 2 meetings. Okay, now I promised you, I said I'm going to do a raffle. Okay, so I'm going to ask, okay, Helen, could you please choose a number between 1 and 23?
15.
Number 15 is Naomi. Naomi, where are you? What? Turn on your mic and show us how excited you are, Naomi.
Wait, there's a few Naomis.
I'm Naomi Pillow.
Oh, yes, Naomi. Is it me?
Yes, it is. It is you. It is you. Okay. So, Mazal Tov, I will post these out to you. We'll be in touch and you'll send me your address. Okay. Anybody who wants to leave, I understand, but there are some questions in the chat that we could answer. All right. Okay. Crystals that help with bone pain and fractures. Definitely, there are crystals for this that help us with pain in general. And I've created an oil using based on olive oil and with crystals that you rub on, and it's a little bit easier than sticking crystals on. Though of course you can imagine that I wear crystals. I use crystals when I have pain. Other questions? There was a question I saw. Raw milk. Nili, how is raw milk okay?
So as far as from a digestion perspective, raw milk is definitely better on digestion. However, when it comes to hormonal balancing, it's just as damaging as, let's say, pasteurized milk, because it's the lactose sugar that's a problem. And even if you have something that, let's say, makes the lactose sugar easier to digest, that's not the problem. The problem is the galactose that you receive from the lactose. The broken down lactose creates glucose and galactose, and that galactose is what causes the problems to the ovaries. So that's there regardless of whether the dairy is fermented, regardless if it's raw, regardless if it's pasteurized, it's there. It's an active ingredient.
Thank you. Okay. And a question to Helen is, sometimes it's hard to choose to say no, even if I give myself permission to say no, because the other families expect me to do certain things. Other family members expect me to do certain things, and I end up out of balance when they're disappointed.
Yes, look, being part of a family, nothing's easy. I didn't say it's easy to create a balance in your life. And I hear that, but it's always about making the decision. Sometimes you do have to put your family first, and sometimes you have to put yourself first. And it's about not always doing one and not always doing the other, and finding the balance between those two things. And sometimes you do disappoint your family members, and you can't get it right for everyone always. And that is life. And you know, I'm happy to discuss it with whoever wrote it in more detail. You know, you have to see it's not easy putting yourself first. And then I think we do feel guilty sometimes as mums doing that, but sometimes it is still the right thing to do.
It's learning. That's part of our learning, is to be able to live with the fact that we are looking after ourselves, and that's okay. And when we nurture ourselves, we're able to nurture others so much better.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think our kids get used to us doing it if it becomes the norm. It's
Right.
when you've never done it before and suddenly you're saying, well, no, I can't do that for you anymore because I need to look after myself. They're like, what? But if you explain it to them and it becomes the norm, and this is what we do, and this is, you know, that's also important. You're modeling to your kids how to look after yourself and how they should look after themselves too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Helen.
Yes.
Great. That's so important. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Nili. Thank you, everybody. It was great seeing you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. It was wonderful. Gila kol hakavod.
Thank
Loved
you.
Helen's presentation and Nili's. So much wonderful information. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Call two for everybody.
All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.